Welcome to the How to Farm series. Over the next 365 days, I will be documenting everything that happens on Cornstar farms to show what it takes for food to get on your table. If you are new to this series, I recommend starting on episode 1, which can be found on my channel playlist called How to Farm. At the start of today, our season expenses so far are $910,000, and we have made $0 in income. Up to this point, I have established a projected break-even point for the farm of $2,027,000, and that's it. So with that being said, welcome to day number 1 of farming. Today is April 11th, which is early, but you know what they say. Early is on time is late, and we have a lot to do. And I just wanted to give a big thank you to Policy Genius for sponsoring this video. For today's weather report, sponsored by Cornstar Farms merchandise that can be found down in the link below or at cornstar.farm, we are started bright and late today at 10:14 a.m. We had a pretty long night last night working, so we slept in a little bit and got a little bit of shut-eye. We're looking at a high of 58 degrees today with a low of 45. We have a 30% chance of wind, and they're talking breezy all day. We're looking at 18-mile-an-hour winds right now, and I believe that is expected to increase. We have 66% humidity and 16 miles of visibility with a UV index of 2. So not a lot of need for sunscreen today, but we are talking some breeze. I just want to point out that my radio show in high school speech went to Allstate when I did it, so I got some skills. Looking at the 10-day forecast, we have beautiful weather coming into this weekend. It looks like tomorrow we have another windy day, but a high of 64 degrees. That's going to be nice. Going into Saturday and Sunday, we get up into the 70s and 80s. Monday, 85. It's going to be a scorcher. Tuesday, we have a 50% chance of rain. Now, that far out, are we going to get it? Are we not? We don't know. This is literally going to change every single 15 minutes from now until Tuesday. But high of 68, Wednesday 72, Thursday they're predicting some wind coming in, and if we look at that high temperature for the day, we're backing off. Then Friday, Saturday, looks like we have a bit of a cold front coming in. On Friday and Saturday of next week, we need to be paying attention to the low temperatures for those days. When we get down to around 32 degrees, so these 34, 38s, I mean, those can change going 10 days in the future. They can drop really quick. We need to keep an eye on those, because if 32-degree temperatures hit while we're out in the field and we have some crop up out of the ground, we could be susceptible to frost damage, which will kill the plant or take it back. And so we don't want that. So we need to be taking into consideration what is coming 10 days from now, so that way we can be making good decisions today, because the decisions we make today are going to affect us then. So the 10-day forecast is extremely important for us. We're running surplus help today with special help from Ron, our bulldozer guy. Zach's helping, Roman's helping, Cooper, my dad, and me. So there is going to be 6 of us running around the farm today. We need to take a moment of appreciation to listen to that 903 cubic inch Cummins. The sound of 20 gallons of diesel fuel per hour being burned. For today's activities, first off, I'm standing out in the farm we call Mount Everest. You can see Mount Everest over my shoulder. It's just a big old hill, so that's why we call this farm Everest. It used to be called the field west of Dad's, if you've been watching the channel for a while, but it got a rename. So last fall we came in and we disc ripped everything that was corn going to be beans. So we came in with a disc ripper, dug in 13 inches deep with some big shanks and some disc blades, and it stirred all the soil up, it ripped up the hard pan, and now we have a rough field. This is too rough to plant into. So Cooper is running our real disc right now, and he's running it 2 to 3 inches deep, and he is simply just smoothing out all of the holes that the ripper made, all of the big clods, and we are making a nice environment for the planter to be able to come in and plant smoothly. If our planter hits big dirt clods and root balls like this, the row units will bounce up off of the ground, and then that will mess with the consistent depth that our planter is set to run at. So we'll have some seeds that are too shallow. We could even have some on top of the ground. And if they're on top of the ground, they're probably not going to grow, which is not what we want. We plant the seeds so that way they grow. So that's one reason. Reason number two, when it's really rough like this, when we come in with our bean head, that literally shaves the ground. And so we'd be picking up all of this dirt and running it inside the combine. Dirt is extremely abrasive. You wouldn't think it is because it's pretty soft, but it wears out equipment fast and it causes a lot of problems. So we want this nice and level. That way when we run the bean head on this, we're not sucking all that up into the machine. So it's kind of twofold. Everest is a 96-acre farm, so we're gonna have about 900 more acres to do. Cooper can do 25 acres per hour in that piece of equipment, so he's gonna be running this for about 40 hours, and this is gonna be a pretty expensive 40 hours because every hour, that tractor burns about $100 worth of diesel fuel. And by the way, that 40 hours is 100% efficient, actually in the ground, moving, turning dirt. That does not include times for plug-ups, breakdowns, getting out to pick up rocks, traveling down the road, eating, that kind of thing. So we're probably looking at 60 hours. But I guess the good news is when you're stopped for those things, you're not burning as much fuel. So it's not quite as expensive when you're sitting, but you're still paying somebody to be there doing the work and nothing's getting done. This is a beautiful side-by-side comparison of the difference. So this hasn't been worked up yet. You see all these root balls that are all clumpy. There's a bunch of big stuff, big chunks. Then we get over here into the area that Cooper's already done. We just have little balls of stuff. This is nice, mellow, smooth, and extremely even. So this is exactly what we want to run the planter on. Once Cooper gets done real disking Mount Everest, that will be 100% ready to plant soybeans into. So once he gets done at Everest, he'll hop right across the road to the field right around the main heated shop here, which is the field we call the field around Dad's. And then right next to that, we have the Hanson farm, and then we also have the Bush farm. So those fields will keep Cooper busy today. So that is what he is going to be working on. Now I know I said that once Cooper was done real disking, we will be 100% ready to plant soybeans into that, and that is correct, but we have another step that is involved around the planting process. Once we plant, we need to make sure that before the seeds come up out of the ground, we have what's called a residual herbicide on. That residual herbicide is sprayed through the sprayers, which are behind me, and it covers the ground and it prevents new seeds from coming up through, so new weeds from growing. And what we usually like to do is spray before we plant. So we'd come in real disc, smooth everything off, spray, and then we plant. Because that way we have our residual weed killer sitting on the soil. So if we get some rain or we get several days of wind, then we are covered once we have that field planted. If it's sprayed before we plant it, then we are good if the weather starts to make a change for where we can't get the sprayers out into the field. Today it is too windy for us to go out and spray. Tomorrow it is too windy for us to go out and spray. But looking at Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we have some opportunities to get the sprayers out there. We would like to spray before we plant. We've just had it too many times where we come in and plant and then it's like you're sitting there biting your nails because they're talking 4 days of rain and then 5 days of wind after that with 80 degrees, and then the plants come up out of the ground, and once they come up out of the ground, if we get that spray on those baby plants, we can cause some damage to them. So we don't want to do that. So we're really going to focus these next 2 days on getting tillage going, getting things smoothed off, so that way this weekend we can have a bunch of ground prepared and have the sprayers come in, spray, and then we'll be able to just come in with the planters and go absolutely full force and not have to worry anything about it being too wet in the coming forecast or too windy, because we can plant when it's windy, we just can't plant when it's wet. But that's kind of the plan of what we got going forward, looking at the forecast that we have. When I'm going in the sprayer, I can do 100 acres per hour. Cooper's doing 25 acres per hour. So for every 4 hours he works, I can do in one in the sprayer, and we have 2 sprayers. So we can do 200 acres per hour with the sprayer. So to get ahead between today and tomorrow, with these winds, we have the high-speed disc on our 340. We rented a high-speed disc last fall, and we ran it into some bean stubble to help incorporate some crushed limestone that we put on, and it left it in a finish where we feel we are comfortable running the planter right in behind that. So we're gonna get Zach set up in this 340 here in a little bit, and then he's gonna go get started either around DC's Hanson farm or Bush farm, so that way we can be getting ahead of the sprayers. We want to get as much worked and have the seed bed prepared for planting, so that way we can come in with the sprayers, get a bunch done, because we have 2 planters, and once we get both planters going, if we're running them 24/7, we can get 1,000 acres done in 2.5 days. So if we can get as much done as possible with these tillage implements, then we can get more planted. The more we can get planted early, especially when it comes to soybeans, the better. About 1/3 of the ground that Zach and Cooper are going to be working up is Everest Hanson Farm, which I'm currently standing on, around Dad's house, which is behind me, and then the Bush Farm, which is over there. So that's about 30% or so of our soybean acres. And there's going to be a little bit of a challenge here. Ron, our bulldozer excavator guy, who's behind me in his excavator right now, stacking that big pile of trees, he's been working here on 1.5 miles of creek line, picking up all of those trees and loading them up into the dump trailer. So the edge of the field, he got most of the big stuff, but there is some little small debris yet. And so when Zach and Cooper are going along the edges, they're going to have to be careful not to run any of that stuff through. And then we're also going to have to try to figure out where the boundary edge of the field is going to be, because the plan is to plant grass along the edge of the creek on both sides, 30-40 feet out, but it's all disturbed ground right now, so there's no clear distinction line on where that 30 to 40 feet actually is. So they're going to have to make their best judgment. So these fields are just going to be a little bit of a challenge for them. Now remember how I talked about being early is on time and being on time is late? Well, this brings us to what Roman's going to be working on for today. We're going to be needing the sprayers in a couple days, and in a good day of spraying, I can run through one of these tanks. This is a 5,000 gallon tank of water per sprayer. So we need 10,000. Woo-hoo-hoo! Caught you guys. Oh, that was fast. Let's try this again, hiding out of the wind a little bit. I'm about 6 feet tall when I have my boots on, and this is a ginormous tank. And between both sprayers, we can run through 10,000 gallons of water in a day when we are really going. So this holds 5,000 gallons of water. It is currently empty. Our sprayer trailer will hold 5,000 gallons of water. That is currently empty, and we need water, and we cannot get water yet. So this is where Roman comes into play. This black structure beside me is the top of our well. It goes 463 feet below ground and ties into an underground aquifer. And this is how we always used to get the water for our farm. We have water that comes from the city now that feeds the house. This has a lot of iron in it and a lot of other nutrients, so it's not really the best to drink, but it works perfect for spraying on our fields. Down in the basement of my house that we are currently in the middle of 100% renovating, restoring, and remodeling the inside of, we have the pump that runs the well down inside of the basement. When we were doing some of the demolition work in the basement, we tore out the wires that go into the electrical box that supply power to the well. So right now we currently have no electricity to the well. So Roman is going to get a wire setup going to be able to run over to where the power comes into the house. So that way we can get some temporary power to the well to be able to use it. And then also the house used to be fed on the well through this pipe that comes right through the side of the wall, and we cut that off when we were demoing. So Roman is going to figure out some way to cap this, because when we turn that on, water comes gushing up through this and it makes a ginormous mess, and we don't want to flood the basement. So once Roman gets that done and this capped, then we will be ready to start filling our 5,000 gallon tank full of water, and we'll be able to get the sprayer trailer full as well. So that way, when we have no more wind, then we'll be 100% ready to go out and start spraying. I want to take just a second to pause from our project and talk about something that's really important, and that is life insurance. Like most people, I am not debt-free. I owe some money to the bank for some of my farming equipment. If something were to happen to me, my wife and 2 little boys would be responsible for making that payment, and I don't want that. So that's why I carry life insurance. I've had life insurance for about a year now, and I got it through a company called Policy Genius. All I had to do was go to their website, and then they asked a couple basic questions. It took like 45 seconds. And then I got a call from an award-winning Policy Genius agent comparing all of America's top insurers' prices. And my favorite thing about it is the agents work for me, not the insurance company, so their only incentive is to get me the lowest price with the most coverage. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million worth of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. And don't just take my word for it. They have thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot. And if you already have a policy, great. I would just highly recommend double-checking to make sure you have enough coverage for what your needs may be. Check life
insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/call the Cornstar or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save.
Unfortunately, I cannot find anything around here that would work for our application, which is an inch threaded piece of something, whether it's plug or who knows what. I'll see what I can do with that, but at least we can do the wiring real quick. So the wiring that we were cutting out, I've been saving, and I brought it back to use it again. So we'll see if this chunk is long enough. In this application, all we'll need is 2 hot wires, no neutral. Tighten them down. I already found 2 spots where I can get my 2 hot lines out of and run them that way. Actually, we already have wire in place here. We just need to hook it up. I'm going to utilize the old breaker panel, the old breaker box, little breaker box with the lever. So we have a shut off for it. And actually, it already says on it pump. Everything is ready for us. We just need to do a little reconfiguration on the wires. Now we'll go and figure out this end, what we're gonna do here to supply power. The mess is a little bit cleaned up because every time we would come here, all these wires would be hanging off. They are all dead. It just at the time we would cut them off, thinking like that's good enough, but there is always time that someone has to come and actually make it look better, less messy. So it was that time. The final step is to have this wire that we just brought in and connected to the well, connected to the box, all the stuff that we did there, and hook up the 2 wires that we have lined up now, and we should be good to go. Well, good to go on the wiring side. We still have to fix that plug, the water issue. Everything is going to be temporary, so we're not really caring what it looks like and what it's gonna do, because it's just gonna be here for a few months, or probably even less, because we'll get temporary new sub panel here shortly. Now here I need black and red. This one cuts real easy. It's a very thin sheathing here. So here's what we've done, a recap. Brought the wire in here. Don't look at the splicing, it's just temporary. Then this box, that's what feeds this black wire. And this wire is feeding that box. So all we have left is put these 2 fuses in there, and that box should be live. And then we'll have this switch to control it if we need to. Now we have electricity. Okay, the wiring part is done, and please don't judge me. I know it looks ugly, but it's just temporary. It's just not worth spending time to make it all pretty and to size without any slack and stuff like that. It will work for now. We'll need it for a little bit, and then it comes off again.
So Zach and Cooper are going to be running tillage. Ron is in his excavator right now. He's going to be leaving early today though, because he is going turkey hunting. Roman's going to be getting the well situation figured out. Dad is being the gopher guy. He's actually going to get lunch right now. And then if Cooper, Zach, hey, we blow hydraulic hose, we need a new one, Dad will go get it. Hey, our rock box is full, Dad will go empty it, go dump it somewhere else. So that way, main goal of the game is to keep Zach and Cooper moving out in the field. So Dad's gonna be primarily doing that. And then there's me. I have the nice cushy job of sitting in the Ranger driving field boundaries. So I have our Ag Leader GPS display set up. I have our GPS globe up on top, and then I have a monitor on the inside. And I am double checking boundaries to make sure that our GPS boundaries are correct. When we come through with our planters and our sprayers, they have the GPS sensors inside of them that when they hit a no plant boundary, the planter will automatically shut off. And so we want to make sure those are right, because we don't want to be planting into areas that we don't want to plant into. And then we also want to make sure that we are planting into areas that we want to plant into. And then our sprayer has the exact same thing, where we will spray in the areas where we want to spray. And once our GPS crosses the line of, hey, don't spray here anymore, everything automatically shuts off. So I am going to go out. I have about 700 acres that I need to look at. Most of it should be pretty good. It's probably going to take me about the afternoon. I do have a couple fields where we changed the shape of them a little bit, so I need to go in and remap some areas where it used to be a no plant zone, and we want to plant there now, so we want to make it a plant zone. So I basically am just going to be driving the perimeter of every single field, every waterway, every little spot we don't want planted. I'm just doing a big old outline. I also double as tech support guy when it comes to the GPS stuff. I probably understand it better than everyone on the farm, so when they have issues, they usually call me, and there's always some sort of issue, so hopefully today we don't have that. But first day out in the field, you usually find something. I just saw Zach pull in here, and I believe I robbed the GPS globe off the top of his tractor. And so I'm probably gonna have to find one for him so that way we can get him set up, because without the globe, he cannot have auto steer. Yep, looks like he's in the tractor. See the lights on. Oh yeah, he's backing out. We better get out of the way. Zach's pretty sharp though. He might have realized that there's not a globe on top, and he might have grabbed one before he came over. I will know here in just a moment when I can see the top of the tractor. It appears there is not a globe up there, so he's gonna have a rude awakening when he turns his monitor on.
Hey, Cole.
Hey Zach, did you grab a monitor or a globe by chance?
No, I'm heading back down there.
See if there's one down there, and if you plug it in, if everything's there and working just fine. But if not, just let me know. I can come help you get it set up.
Okay.
So this is my monitor that I have inside of the cab, and this black line on the screen is my field boundary. So if I zoom all the way out on the field, I can see the entire thing. So everything on the outside of the lines is a no plant, no spray zone, and everything inside of the lines is fair game. So like right here, we have a waterway finger. So when we're planting through it, the planter will shut off while it is inside of the waterway. And then once it gets back into the field, it'll automatically turn on. The sprayer will do the exact same thing. So this field is the field behind my house. It should be pretty good. There might be one spot right down in here. I might redo this boundary because we had a big wet spot right here that had snakeweed growing in it, and we got it fixed. And so we picked up like an acre more of field of getting rid of that invasive snakeweed plant and getting rid of that wet spot. And so I might have to mess with that in there just a little bit. It might be pretty good, we'll see. And as cushy as this job is, it's actually kind of annoying for me because this is the 4th time that I have done this on our fields. The first 2 times I did it, I had GPS configuration issues. Then we did it a 3rd time, and then we got everything right. But I want to come in and double check, because the first 2 times the problems we had, those were super annoying when the edge of a field is supposed to be in one spot and it's actually 3 feet off. And so your planter shuts off 3 feet early, or turns on 3 feet too early into grass or the sprayer, and you kill a waterway, or kill your neighbor's field because you poked over the side of their fence when the sprayer was supposed to be off. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. So we don't want that to happen again. So this is more of just a safety double check measure. Once we get this done this time and ensure everything is correct, then we should not have to do this again. But this is a precautionary measure, and it just needs to be done. So we're just gonna hammer it out. So this is a prime example of what I'm looking for. See how that little gray box is right on that black line? That gray box represents me and the Ranger. So the left side of that box is the left side of the Ranger. We are currently sitting right on the borderline. So left side is a no spray, no seed zone. But look at this. We are like 4 feet from where we actually don't want to go. Now this is done intentionally right here because I don't want to get too close to that. That's my brother's alfalfa field, and it's right on the edge of my yard. So I'm intentionally leaving a buffer strip right here, but I'm looking for gaps like this over in the rest of the field in areas where we're not as concerned with being 4 feet away. Normally I like to leave it like 2, so I normally drive about right there instead of over here. But in this case, being more sensitive and I have to look at it, this is intentional. But that's what we're looking for. I just found my first problem area in this field. I got 75 acres that was mapped. The back half looked pretty good, but on this front half, my boundary edge is on this side of the Ranger. I'm standing right on the boundary line. That is our divider with the neighbor over there. So we need to shift our line over about 6 feet. So I'm gonna have to remap this 75 acres. So that way we're just moving our planter shut off line from right there over to here. We got this fence out this last year, which is the sole reason why we had to move the line, or we can move the line, because before when we had the fence, this was all big and mounded up,
and we didn't want to be planting too close to the fence, so it was pushed further away. But now with the fence gone, we can move it over a little bit. Oh, this is painful to do. That 75-acre part right there, delete. Okay, let's make a new one. It took us about an hour to check everything. We had to check each and every one of these little individual islands. Then I checked a couple sides and areas where I was kind of questioning a little bit, but now we are good. So we got 202 acres done. The more I was thinking about it, there's about 400 acres down around Dad. So we got 200 here. So we are now 60% done with the soybean ground. I just have the North Farm and Zach's left, and then we will be done with all of the ground that is going to be soybeans. So that's the priority stuff. So we will get done with that today, as long as everything keeps going smooth.
And the last thing to take care of is this thing. This pipe goes directly to the pump. So when we turn it on, it will start gushing water inside here, which we don't want. So we need to cap it, and we'll be ready to go. This stuff is called thread compound. It just simply fills in the threads, so that way the water or gas cannot seep through. A lot of guys will use the combination of the tape and this. There's special Teflon tape that you wrap around the threads and then you thread it in. Works exactly the same like this one. Fills in those threads so the liquid will not get through it. But I think for what we're doing, this will be just fine and enough. Shall we try it out if our pump still works? I don't see a reason why it wouldn't, because we hooked it up the same way we unhooked it. But it's always that doubting and double questioning, what if? Power on. Okay, I heard the click. I heard the click here. No seeping here. And we'll go to the hydrant and see if we have water. Oh yeah. Thank you, Jesus.
On our way over to the next field, we're gonna see how Cooper's making out. I got my lunch sitting here beside me, eating that as we're driving down to the next field as well. Looks like Cooper has got probably a down back down, maybe, left over here at Everest. So there's probably 5 acres left. Otherwise, he's got all of that done, all the way basically over to those trees right there. So good job, Cooper. He'll be moving to the next field here shortly. Looks like he's maybe got a rock that he's dealing with right now. That'd be my guess. That little corner right there, a little bit of a rocky area. And it should be known that it's pretty much an absolute staple if you're driving by the Massey Ferguson 4840 when it's running wide open with that straight piped 903 Cummins in it. You have to sit and listen to it for just a minute. First off, you can hear it from like 8 miles away on a clear day, but you just gotta listen to it. Looks like Cooper's just got one pass left here now, and then he's going to be done at Everest, so I would imagine he's probably going to go to the field around Dad's next. Hanson Farm or Bush Farm, we'll see. I'm not sure where Zach's at yet. We'll go check up on him quick just to make sure he's getting along okay, and then we will go map our last 2 fields. Oh boy, it's windy. See if I can do this without getting hit by Zach. I ended up heading over to Zach's place to go map the field around his house and the North Farm, which is just beyond that. And on the way there, we passed by the farm we call Tabletop, and that's where Zach got started in the high-speed disc. So he's got nice half-mile long rows. He's gonna be buzzing by me at about 9 miles an hour here in just a second. We have a neighbor Doug. He's got some cows, probably 15, 20 of them, and he puts all his manure on this farm. So we got some manure chunks in here. He probably did 80 acres of the farm. And so Zach's running this high-speed disc right now. He's getting everything incorporated in. And he's also kind of getting a feel for this, getting everything limbered up. He'll be hopping over into what's going to be soybeans this year soon once he gets done with this farm. He's just got a little bit left. He can do about 20 acres an hour with this. He's only rocking 20 feet wide, but since he's going so fast, it stirs everything up nice, and he can actually get a fair amount done. And it looks like it's doing a really nice job. Unlike Everest, that was ripped, this was a no-till situation. So this was soybean stubble last year, and then just got the manure put on top of it, and then now it's getting high-speed disc. So this is just really nice, fluffy. We're gonna be planting corn onto this field. We're we're not gonna be planting that for a little while yet, so hopefully we get a rain or two on this, and that'll help kind of settle everything down, and it'll give us more of a stale seed bed. It's kind of interesting. We have a ton of worms sitting here right now. Got a worm right there, got a worm right here, got a worm right there, got another one right there stuck inside that dirt clod. Saw one here by my knee. Yep, there's one right here. Oh, he's a big long one, still attached into the ground. So we got worms all over in here, which is exactly what we want. They make nice channels down. They grab food that's up top, and then they pull it down below. They eat it, they poop it out, and then that helps fertilize the soil. And then also, their little earthworm channels help water go down deep into the soil profile, which is exactly what we want. Holy cow. Got another worm right there. Another worm right there. Man, if we were going fishing, this is where we would want to come. It's kind of fun to watch that high-speed disc. Just look how much soil it shoots up out of the back. It's a really violent process. Meow. Nice and windy too. Just rolled up to Zach's. Looks like we are sitting pretty nice on fuel right now. It's just about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm fortunate that this farm was good. At least this side of the road is good. I had to check this little island area here and this one here. There's a lot of waterways on this farm and a lot of edges, and they were all spot on. So now I just need to hop across the road, check that one, and we should be good here. Then we have one farm left. I think our 30% chance of rain is starting to come in. And looking on the horizon, it's looking a little dark over there. We got a couple little water droplets on the windshield. I don't know if it's going to amount to anything or not. I guess if it rains, it rains. We're not going to turn it down if it does. As much as we want to plant and get into the field, we are pretty dry, and we will gladly take whatever rain we get. It's actually coming down kind of nice right now. I love spring rains like this because they always come in from one side. He's got a big dark wall cloud over there, and then there's always light on the horizon. So you're looking up and it's just like, man, it should be raining right now, but you can see all the rain falling. It's beautiful. And the smell of a spring rain on freshly tilled soil, that's a good smell.
Well, the pump is on, so we are getting good water flow. What's next?
If you go outside in the white machine shed that has Cooper's hay in it, on the north end, there is a little room. There is a hose in there, a red hose.
Okay.
And there should be like a diffuser, a diverter, or whatever, where the hose can go 4 different ways, and you can turn the valve on for each of those.
Oh, manifold.
Yes. So you can get that hose out, get that manifold out. We need to take the hoses from the hydrants and then run them over to where that big white tank is.
Let's go and find those manifolds and the hoses. There's a bunch of raccoon poop, the hoses, and the manifold. Check one more time. Oh, look at it work. Just look at it. Would you just look at it? Got it hooked up. Running here. All the way here. Raining again. Raining hard again. I'm cornered again here. We're going to put manifold here. We have 2 more hoses, so it means we'll be able to start filling up 2 cisterns. And then for the rest, we'll just have to find more hoses, because we have 4 of the cisterns here. I checked with Cole, and we'll need actually this big baby boy filled up first. So we'll try to get to the top and stick the hose in there. When I got here, this valve was in halfway open and closed position. So this is closed, this is open. And that's what you want to keep it at for freezing. And that's because when it's fully open, the water around it can stick to the main body here, and you will not be able to close it when it's frozen. Or the water around it can also freeze and expand. And if you shut it, then it's full of water and you have problems again. But if you're in halfway position, the water is not being trapped there. It all can drain and ventilate. And that's how you keep these valves from freezing and breaking. Let's go, turn on the water. On. Yep, I hear water. Do you hear it? Shut this off. This one is already shut off, which is a naughty no. And we'll just leave it. Let it fill up.
It's still raining. Hey, I'm not complaining whatsoever, but I did get done on the North Farm, so that wraps up everything for what is going to be soybeans this year. All of those fields are now mapped and they are good. I know last year when I did this, all the fields that were soybeans, I had some issues with. My GPS line where I drove along the edge of these waterways, I was using a WAS satellite and that shifted 30 inches because that has 30-inch accuracy from year to year. And so all of my lines where I drove along the edges of the fields and the waterways, they either shifted out into the field almost 3 feet or into the waterway 3 feet. So like in the case of right here, this little square is the left side of the Ranger. Left side of the square is the left side of the Ranger. Look how far we are away from the waterway right now. We're way away from it. So pretty much, well, not pretty much, definitely, all of these need to be remapped. So we got a little bit of time here. Oh, per typical spring day, we got the sunshine back again. And then look at that, we got another storm brewing on the horizon over there. That's getting real dark. Just kind of interesting how it's coming this way, but the wind's going that way. Weatherman Roman, would you care to report on the situation?
50-50.
Thank you, meteorologist Roman.
You can't go wrong with 50-50. It's like you expect, but hope it's not gonna happen.
By golly, take a look at this. Roman was right. The sky is expelling liquid snow. You guys saw the same weather forecast I saw this morning. They were talking a 30% chance of rain, and when I looked at it literally 5 minutes prior, there was no chances of rain. And then we've gotten 2 rains today so far. The first one I would say is probably about a 10th. Sounds like Cooper got rained out of the field, Zach as well, around 5 o'clock. So that was about 2 hours ago. And then now we were just getting little hail pellets here a second ago. If you look on the porch, I don't know how well you can pick it up through my shadow, but there are little kind of melted pieces of hail there. And it's coming down good out there. I kind of have a little bit of a theory when it comes to like critical, hey, we need to make sure that our forecast is going to be accurate. They're not accurate at all. But when it's in the middle of growing season, and it's like, yeah, I mean, a rain would be nice. Like, we'll take it. Then they're usually spot on. But when it's important and it's crunch time and you're relying on the weather, it's right, literally like negative 14% of the time. Look at the driveway. That is one big little river just floating down. Since Cooper and Zach got rained out, they decided they were going to work on the sprayers for a little bit, get some stuff together. I know tomorrow on the sprayer trailer, there is a tire with a hole completely blown in it. And so Cooper is gonna pull that off and get that fixed. He has a new one, he just needs to put it on. So that way we can fill the sprayer trailer with the water that Roman got running earlier. I have to do Cooper's taxes tonight, I guess, for the entire year because we have a tax appointment tomorrow. And I just now got those documents, and I guess since I'm the money guy, I have to do everybody's taxes. So I'm gonna be up for a little bit tonight. I just got done with some office work that I had to take care of in the house. There's no heat in there. I kind of have chilled bones, so I just turned the heat up in here. And one thing I've kind of learned from older people, everybody always says, I wish I would have invested more money earlier. And they also said, I wish I would have taken better care of my health. And so we're really busy right now. It's almost 9 o'clock, but something I like to do during busy times, just 15 minutes, get some physical activity in. I'm not gonna be able to do the full thing of what I want to do, but I'm going to be able to do some of it. So I'm just gonna do some squats. You can get tired in 15 minutes. It doesn't take very long when you're doing squats, or honestly anything for that matter. But we got squats today. I honestly don't even really care about what kind of weight that I'm doing right now. Just kind of go to what feels good. If I'm getting nervous for doing the next set, I'm going too heavy, a little bit too high on the intensity side. You can get a good stimulus by
putting a good amount of weight on. I figure maybe I can add a couple extra reps if I absolutely need to. If I feel myself giving out or something kind of aching, and if something hurts bad enough, I just stop. Since Zach and Cooper got rained out of the field at 5, they came up into the main heated shop and they got working on the sprayers. We need to get the oil changed in both of them. So they got, this is engine oil in here, and they got the hose up. So they changed engine oil filters. They're going to be changing fuel filters. I think there's an inline filter. They will check all the fluids in the radiator and everything. And then I know this is sprayer number 1. I'm standing underneath it with the new Titan tires on it. And these back leg bushings, there's some bushings inside of these legs, those wear out. And the back legs on this sprayer need those replaced. So it sounds like we're not going to be able to use this sprayer until we get those replaced. Jordan, our Haggy mechanic, he is supposed to be coming down sometime soon. He's on vacation right now. He gets back tomorrow, but I don't know if he's going to be wanting to work on it this weekend or not. So we're not going to be able to use that sprayer until we get those fixed. But sprayer number 2, I think it's just a fluid change, and just kind of check everything out. We'll run some water up in this later and then flush everything through just to make sure everything's working. We'll slap an ag liter monitor on the inside, through a GPS globe up on top. And then this one should be able at least to allow us to run. We're not going to be able to run full speed ahead, not having both of them, but I guess one is better than none. It's 9:32 in the evening right now. I'm going to call my farm day stopping at 7. So I went from 10 to 7. So I had a 9-hour farm day. Everybody else got started before me, but they quit just a little bit before me. So we'll just call everybody having a 9-hour day. So between all 6 of us, we had 54 man hours on day number 1 going into everything. So that comes out to a $1,080 farmhand expense for the day. And I don't know what diesel fuel was, because we get our diesel fuel bill at the end of the month. And when that comes in, we'll get everything tallied up. So we spent $1,080 today, and we did not make any money. So now I need to head inside. Sounds like Mexican food got brought home. I'm going to eat that, and then I got to do Cooper's taxes. Buenos dias. We got done with Cooper's taxes around 11:30 last night. I got up this morning at 7:30, and I was able to get them crunched in on the computer, and we got everything wrapped up at 9:30. It is now 9:50. My tax appointment is supposed to be at 10 o'clock, and my CPA is 30 minutes away. So we are going to be late, but we are going to be working on 3 different sets of taxes today. Well, technically 4. I have my personal, I have my wife's personal, and then we have the farm acres that are in my name. We will also be covering those taxes and Cooper's taxes. So we have 4 sets of taxes that we are responsible for today. And then I also need to run to the bank, which is right by our CPA. So we're on a little bit of an errand duty this morning. It sounds like Zach and Roman are getting working on the sprayer trailer. They are putting some new tires on it, I believe, and just kind of going through some stuff that they see. I'm not sure what Cooper's doing, and I'm not sure what Dad's doing. I know we want to get everything ready for the sprayers today. We got a little bit of rain last night, so it's too wet to go out in the field this morning, and it's supposed to be windy again today. So if we can get everything ready on the sprayer side of things, then right away in the morning, we will be ready to start spraying. And then if we get the planter and stuff down later this afternoon, get the seed tender down, get some seed loaded up on it, then we should be 100% ready to rock and roll planting right behind the sprayer tomorrow. So that is the name of the game.
We have 4 tires that are good and 4 tires that are bad. Not sure which tires on this truck are bad, but we have 4 that will replace and put on. Well, I see one bad. That looks like bad. So we're gonna be putting on some new or better tires on this trailer. Earlier Zach couldn't start the truck, so we think he just didn't turn the key. After a little bit of wrestling, we got 2 tires on the rim. Now we're ready to blast them. And some people, they don't have that. I don't know what's the name for it. That air cannon. So you can use, but very carefully, the starting fluid. Disclaimer, don't do it because somebody said it on the internet. The reason we need that cannon is because of the gap like this one here. If we just start pumping air, it will just simply escape through these gaps. But then if we apply a lot of air at once, it has nowhere to come out that quickly. So it will force the tire up against the bead, and that's what we need.
Just arrived at the big city. There's always a loud semi driving through here. Every time.
You can't open this door without a jingle. Let's try. Oh, I just did it. Look at that.
I believe I'm supposed to have a tax appointment. I'm just late.
Look at this. You got every single one of these books that supposedly tell all of the law. Some of those look like they're like from 1800. And there's a stack of magazines over there that hasn't been updated in like 3 years. That Rise of the Latino Lawyer, that one's been up there for a while. What I like to do when I do my taxes, just make sure I have all the sheets done ahead of time so I can just slide the paper over to him. And he says, okay, these are all your expenses. This is your income. Punch in some numbers. Boom, 15 minutes. We are done. I've been through this enough that I've kind of learned what they want, what they don't want. And we've been able to expedite the process. So I'm hoping we can get out of here in an hour.
While Zach is putting air in the other tires, we're going to be working on these and replacing them.
So in case you wondered, that's what my file looks like. Okay, I'll be back when we get done with this.
Have any good used semi tires? Be 285, 75, 24 5s. Don't have nothing.
And just like that, plans can take a whole new turn. Not having 2 tires that we were supposed to replace, now everything is a couple hours behind. That's if we can find the tires. We'll see what happens. Since we don't have 2 tires and Cooper is trying to arrange where he can find 2 more, or actually 3 more, we need to make sure that all of the tires that are still in the trailer have the same pressure inside of them, which is 100 pounds per square inch, 100 psi. So when we put these wheels back on, we need to make sure that these holes line up, because if they don't, there is no way to pump the other tire. There is a valve stem for the back wheel, and that's how I'm gonna fill it up. But let's say if this wheel was turned even a little bit, I wouldn't be able to access the back one through the front. So there is a lot of things to pay attention to. Well, anyway, back to pumping the tires. Guys, do you remember when I was saying paying attention to line up the holes so we can fill up the tires? That's what just happened. The back hole is about here, the valve stem, but this hole is there.
Roman, what'd you do?
I have to redo it. It is crucial to make sure that this nut is threaded on the stud perfectly aligned, because when you get this thing in, it will strip it if it's not on right. Now we can put some air in. Well, I just learned that inside wheel is flat. The tire doesn't have any air in it, so we'll see if we can pump it If not, we'll have to take it off. We're good on this side. All we have to do is just check those other 4 on the other side of the tractor. And tractor, I mean the semi. And by the way, while I'm doing this, Cooper and Zach are changing oil. And that's while we're waiting on the tire. We might have to wait for the truck to roll a little bit. So then the valve stem is gonna be up above, and it's just gonna be way different angle to get them, because right now it's almost impossible. I mean, it is possible, but no need to do that. I can wait. We'll check these two. These last two real quick.
Oh, well, an hour didn't happen. It turned into 2, and then we talked for half an hour after we were done. But it's 12:30 now. I am really hungry. It smells like food here in town. But I think I'm gonna go back and get something and get back to work. Oh yes, cannot forget, we need to stop at the bank first. Bienvenidos al banco.
While I'm checking tires, I want you to see what Cooper is doing, and he's making sure everything is greased and it doesn't take grease. Then he does his favorite job of replacing the grease zerks. So wherever there is a friction point, rotation point, that part needs a grease, and it's applied through this, what's called grease zerk. The grease gun hooks up to here, and the grease goes through here inside of the moving part.
Yeah, just got it.
New oil, new battery, truck runs. Check the tires, put one more tire on. Do you have 2 other tires?
Yeah, I gotta wait for the neighbor to call me back.
The older I get, the more I realize I'm like my dad. I went into the bank, got everything taken care of, and then I start talking to everybody, and then I talked for, over 30 minutes, 45 minutes. But that's okay, because relationships with people is extremely important, and people are fun to talk to. But we have a pretty special, I don't even know what I want to call this. My grandpa bought a farm 30 years ago, and he had a mortgage on it. He'd been paying on it every single year for 30 years. Well, not quite 30. He passed away at 25. And we just paid that farm off. So we just paid the last $4,790.83. So one of Grandpa's farms is paid off. That is special and really cool to see.
Daddy Cornstar brought us one more tire. So we are going to get the water out of there and put it on. Hopefully we can get 2 more tires today. After flipping a couple of times, getting most of the water out, the final stage would be just blowing it out of there with some pressurized air. This tire sat pretty nice and tight on this wheel, so I'm actually hoping it will start taking air right away so we don't have to blast it to expand. So it like almost sits on the bead right. Hey, look at this. Now as this tire is put on and pumped up to the spec, I can put this one on. So we're ready for the next tires if we get them hopefully today. Nope, I cannot put this one on. This one is actually from the outside because there is one lug nut that's stuck. So it has to go on the outside.
Welcome back to the farm. It looks like they got both of the oils changed in the sprayers. Those are ready to go, or at least sprayer number 2 is, and they are tearing into the semi-trailer, it looks like. Ooh, looks like for lunch today we got a special treat. Usually we go to the grocery store and we get what their special is, or we get subs. And after the 300th day in a row of having subs, they don't sound too good anymore. So Roman made some food today. Looks like we got, oh my goodness. Looks like we got some pork shoulder shish kebabs. And then this looks like pork of some sort here in steak. What is this, Roman? Pork what?
Would be shoulder roast then?
Pork shoulder roast.
Well, I think it is officially time to start filming this. I got a task to grease this truck, and it's pretty straightforward task. I don't really like it because it's real messy, and once you get grease on your clothes, it's never gonna get off. But there are situations like this. The grease zerks that under no condition will take the grease. What happens sometimes, it has so much pressure or the angle of the joint is just right that it will not take it. So I tried it and I jacked it up on the axle. It didn't work. Now I'm jacking up the whole front end so it will let off the pressure from there, and it still doesn't work. So I guess next time we'll try to do is replacing the whole grease zerk and see if that will do the trick. So I'm fighting one grease zerk for like 20 minutes now, so that's how the projects can get long, and next thing you know you're several hours behind. Like start from tires, now the grease zerks and all that good stuff.
We're not going to be able to do any spraying until we get the sprayer trailer ready, so we need to get the transfer pump serviced. So we're going to change the oil in them. Dad already drained this one. Looks like he put some new in.
I haven't got it full yet.
We're going to check the dipstick and get everything, make sure we got enough. And then we have this one. We got one on the other side, and then we got one on the front of the trailer for the big tanks over at the farm. So we're going to get these done. And then Roman's finishing up greasing this. Cooper just went and got some new tires. And we should be ready.
And that is 1030 oil out of that pump.
Okay. Gloves are a little tight. We got one down, 2 to go. The first one we did is an identical pump to this one. Actually, I take that back. This one's just a little bit bigger. We got one bolt, drain bolt, right here. Really bad spot. We're gonna try to figure out how to do this without making a big old mess. Always easier said than done. Made a little bit of a mess. Not too bad. Don't have the right crease in the center of this thing. So while I was off at my tax appointment, it sounds like there was 3 bad batteries that were discovered on the Freightliner. Dad went and got some new ones. They got those installed in. Roman's got the whole truck greased. He's got the trailer greased. Cooper got the new tires on. He got the patch on. Oh, if I can get this in here. There we go. Got the oil changed in the pumps. Got fresh gasoline in them. I think we are now ready to go put some water in this. We're gonna try to make the most out of this trip while we're filling it up with water. Roman right now is hooking up to the trailer so we can load the skid loader up on it and have the forks. We'll be able to get all of our product loaded up on here. And then Dad is going to back up once we get this out and hook up to the seed tender. And then we're gonna put some soybeans on that, bring that down here, hopefully get Dad's planter down here, maybe fill it up, maybe run just a little bit, see if we can just make sure everything's working okay. So that way tomorrow, once we get spraying, then we can just go with the planter. It's all ready to go. We'll get the skid loader loaded up on the trailer for Roman. He'll probably drive this over on the, well, he'll drive the truck with the skid loader trailer on. The skid loader's pretty tight loading up on here. You don't want to hit the fenders, so you got to be pretty careful. Don't only got like an inch on both sides, and when you're on it, it literally looks like you're gonna scrape down the fender the whole time. Okay, it looks like we are good. I know Roman's comfortable when it comes to the construction stuff, but when it comes to equipment, I'm sure he's comfortable with it, but I really don't know his level of operating stuff. We'll teach him like he's a complete beginner, because I really don't know how much farm experience he has. I know he worked on a feedlot for a while, so he drove a big front loader and stuff, and he worked on an excavation crew, so like he knows how to run stuff. Just this stuff being a little different, I just don't know, so we'll just assume he doesn't. The rain last night actually worked pretty good because it allowed Cooper to be able to come in here, help get the semi-trailer done while I was off at the tax appointment. Sounds like Zach went to our most southern farms, which is Mary Lou's. They didn't get as much rain over there, so he got started a couple hours in the high-speed disc. That is soybean stubble over there, just like tabletop. So he got started working on that. But now that we got this trailer done, I think Cooper is going to try to hop in the real disc and start working some more of that ripped ground. We need to get a buffer ahead of the sprayer, otherwise I'm going to be caught up to the real disc in about an hour and 30 minutes with what we have done at this moment. So hopefully he can get a pretty good run here yet tonight. I'm looking down there now. I don't see him in the real disc. Maybe he's going to see how dry it is. But I would almost imagine we'd be able to go. I saw one guy planting earlier on my way back. I cannot see behind me. Usually the first day of getting stuff ready out in the field and actually operating, it's not very productive because you're just making sure everything's working. Usually you find a thing or two that somehow broke while it was sitting in the shed, and you're just kind of remembering the feel for that piece of equipment. I know we run these things all the time, and we've ran them for a long time. Sorry, I'm leaning forward here. I'm trying to avoid hitting the telephone pole with the back of the semi. But usually you just run them for a few days a year, and so you kind of forget. You got to get the feel for it again, just like me with this semi right now. Grind them until you find them. Okay, we just got over here looking at the alfalfa field behind me. You can see a big old puddle out there. The hose must have fell out of the big tank and been just running on the ground while we were gone. So we're like half full, which will be enough to get us at least started, I guess. It's not ideal, but we can at least run water through everything, flush stuff out, make sure things are working, things are holding water the way they're supposed to. You never know, we drained everything during last fall, and then it sat in the cold shed over the winter time, so stuff could have froze. Hopefully we got everything drained good. You just don't know until you fill it back up with water. So the way we used to do things when we would fill the semi-trailer, we have this pump that's sitting up on the deck. And when we have the tank down low, if you have a full tank, it works fine because you have a lot of head pressure pushing water from in the tank up into this pump, which fills the tanks. But when the tank gets a little low and you don't have enough head pressure, so if the water level is below the deck of the trailer, then you cannot get water to suck up there. And we got annoyed with that after like the 500th time of us getting an airlock. So now we have a pump we set on the ground, and then we pump water through that up into the trailer. We'll use a spigot just like this. We have one on the other side that's wired up right to the tanks. So that is this pump up here. So we need to get the skid loader out now, lift this off, get that located down there, get our big 3-inch hose, and then we'll pull the semi up, get everything hooked up, and then we'll fill the tanks. These hoses are not semi-proof, by the way, so if you run one over with the semi, it will break. We got 2 big hoses we need. One to go from the tank to the pump, and then one from the pump to the trailer. You gotta adjust these forks in. Cooper ordered a set of hydraulically adjustable forks for this. I haven't heard anything from them. Should probably ask. We got them because during this time of the year, it never fails. Everything's got a different fork hole, so you're constantly moving these. And these ones are pretty old, pretty wore out, so they don't really slide the easiest. And sometimes, if you get them too close to the middle, they'll just fall off. Look inside this hose, you can see how much iron our water has in it from the well. See, it's all red in there. Everything's all nice and rusty. That's on plastic. Imagine what that would do if that was metal and if it was white. I'm just cracking this valve right now, and we're just gonna let some residual water run through the pump, kind of clean out that rust that's been sitting in there all winter. Just flush everything out. We'll fire it up here in just a second. We have to have water in this pump in order for it to lubricate. If we run it dry, it'll wear out that impeller a lot faster, and we don't want that. We probably ran 15 gallons through now. We'll give her a fire her up.
This is a prime example of why we try to do things the night before we're actually ready to run, or you have a test run before you're ready to fully go. We just put 2,500 gallons of water in. We immediately noticed right here we have an O-ring that somehow broke over the winter time, so it's dripping water. You can see it dripping down all over everything. Right now this is just water, so it's not the end of the world, but when we get 32% nitrogen, it's really corrosive. If it was doing it during that, our trailer would get all rusty and stuff, and it makes everything all sticky, and it's just a big giant mess. So we noticed it now. We can shut all our water shutoffs to it, and then we'll just be able to pull that piece out, put a new O-ring in. We'll probably have to replace both of the O-rings in that piece when we take it out, put it back in, and we should be good to go. We had a little bit of a problem. One of the tanks has some algae in the bottom. We noticed once we got it empty and it filled our tank. That's going to plug the filters on our sprayer. So we are now emptying the tank on the ground, and we have to empty that back tank. So we only have 2,500 gallons of water now. The good news is I only need about 2,500 gallons of water for what we have worked up that I can spray tomorrow. We're gonna put the hose in right now, and we're gonna zip tie it so that way it can't fall out again, and then we'll be able to run this overnight, so we should have 5,000 gallons tomorrow by the time I get the 2,500 gallons sprayed off. So it's not the end of the world, it kind of makes a big, wet, watery mess. We have been spraying my entire life, and we have never had chunks of algae like this big floating up into the tank that we transferred stuff into. So I don't know why we got algae this year. What we ended up doing just sucked all the tanks out completely. And then we had some extra muriatic acid from last year, which is what they use to clean out the inside of pools. And it's also what we use to put in our water when we're spraying to help condition the pH, to lower the pH. It makes the stuff we spray more effective. So I took a gallon and I put it in the bottom of this tank, and we're gonna run about 100 gallons of water in there. And then we're gonna just let it sit overnight, and then hopefully that does its acid thing and gets rid of all that algae, or it breaks it all up. And then we should be good to go. And by the way, if you have a tank that is all dirty and gummy up on the inside and it's got all that rusty, cruddy water residue in there, throw a little bit of muriatic acid in, let it sit for a while. It'll eat all that stuff right off, and it'll make it look like a brand new tank. We're in the big machine shed now. We got the semi pulled off on the side. We got Dad's seed tender pulled off on the side as well. We need to look at what soybeans we have, and we are going to plant our longest maturity soybean first. So we're gonna pull out 2 boxes of that, get that loaded up on Dad's seed tender. We'll bring that down to Everest. And then while we're in here with the skid loader and forks, also, we're gonna grab some product and load that up on the sprayer trailer, because that's what we're gonna be spraying on Everest. So we're gonna try to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. We got the 16-row planter right behind me. We're gonna use that to get started on beans tomorrow. That's the planter Dad's going to run. So if we got time yet and we want to, we'll bring that down there tonight as well. Looks like we found a 3-2, and it's the furthest one in the back. That's usually about how it goes. Every year we say we're gonna get started earlier and earlier, and we're gonna have everything 100% ready to go. And every year we run into stuff just like this. We planned ahead on more things this year, but then it's just like, seems like something else comes up. But we're getting better at identifying the things we need to make sure we have checked off before we put things away. So then hopefully as time goes on, we won't have these issues, because we will have already learned our lesson and made the adjustments we need to make earlier. So that way when we get going now, it's automatic. And I should probably move so I don't get ran over. Dad's gonna back that out. He's gonna put some diesel in the John Deere, and then that should be 100% ready to go. Ah, the smell of a 1980s diesel tractor. I don't really wanna move both of these boxes individually, so I'm hoping I can just lift the bottom one, which will move the top one. Which probably isn't the safest thing in the world, but we're gonna try it. Okay, we're not going to try it. That thing weighs like 2,500, 3,000 pounds. I guess I don't really need that flipping off and landing on my lap. For our liquid products, I just need one. I gotta find it here. There we go. This one, the one that smells like rotten eggs that sat out in the sun for 4 days straight. This stuff smells terrible. It's got a fire label on the side. Talking some serious stuff here. Okay, well, can probably just load both of these up, Dad. Then we won't have to make another trip back to get product. It'll just be water. tiempo es a las 9 de la noche y estamos en la main heated shop ahora y tenemos un problema con esta máquina. El motor is backwards and we don't know why. Well, we do know why, but it's backwards and we need to fix it. So we can't run this tomorrow until we get it fixed. The problem is everybody has gone home. So as we can see, getting the stuff ready to go out day number 1 usually almost always has problems, and then pretty much usually almost always once you get stuff loaded up for the first time, the first load out, for whatever reason, the first hour you're out there, it just seems like things are figuring out how to fix themselves and don't always want to run right. Not always, hopefully not when we actually get spraying and get planting. Hopefully things just work. Hopefully we've learned our lessons in the past and figured out things we need to do before we put equipment away and proper ways of storing it so that way things don't break for now. But usually you learn something new that you didn't know before. Zach worked today, Cooper worked today, Roman worked today, Dad worked today, and I worked today. We all basically had 12-hour shifts, so we'll call it 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's 60 man hours between all 5 of us, which comes out to $1,200 of expenses today. We also paid off that farm note, which was $4,700. So we are at a $5,900 expense for today, and we made 0 money. So this was day 1 and day 2 of getting things prepared to go out into the field. Tomorrow we should be ready to spray and we should be ready to plant. So with that being said, I'm gonna go inside, I'm gonna get a bite to eat, I'm gonna shower, and I'm gonna go to bed because we have a hard charging day tomorrow. So this is all we got for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.